Hey, it's Neil Hogger, land specialist for Whitetail Properties Real Estate, and today I'm on one of my lower cost listings. This is the Rusk County 171, and I've got this listed at just under $1,000 an acre at about $950 an acre, I believe. I often get questions on how do I set the price on properties. Well, today I'm going to take you on this tour and I'm going to point out some things that keep the property price down but can be a real equity gainer for the right buyer who recognizes and then capitalizes on the opportunity. Come along and I'll show you what it looks like.
What's unique about this property is it was once a gravel pit, but in the past 25 years or so, Mother Nature's really reclaimed the property. There's evidence of mining in the past, but this is an opportunity. The new owner could come in, reclaim these open areas, plant them in food plots, or maybe even harvest some of the timber that remains, as there's a couple pockets of some pretty good timber that really add to the biodiversity of the property with hard and soft mass all throughout the property, creating a really nice biodiversity.
With a little creativity, you can often find little hidden gems in these properties. This is an abandoned gravel and sand mine. It could easily be turned into a pistol range or a rifle range, and that can really enhance the value and be a calling card to certain buyers. So look for these little areas you can easily improve.
I always look for areas that have agricultural next door. This is an obvious draw for the deer that live on and off the property. But security cover is probably the most important ingredient. You have to have the thick cover to hold and grow the big bucks. If you have fallow areas that you could put into perhaps a clover plot, this is an obvious draw and an easy equity gainer.
Here's a real example of where opportunity meets a creative mind. This is an old field here. It looks like they were dumping gravel here at one point. There's not a lot of topsoil, but there's just enough to get us some germination on some plants such as rye grains, cereal rye, oats, wheat, something like that. You come in here, you fertilize this, you lime it, and you put a nice food plot, and it will really significantly enhance not only the aesthetic value, but the attraction to the deer, creating a real opportunity for the savvy buyer. Oftentimes I come out with clients and they're always looking for the best property. They like the big trees, beautiful forests, but the deer don't like that so much, and it costs you a lot of money. Here I'm in a perfect example of early successional growth. These trees are a couple years old, they're small, but it's really thick and the deer love it. As an example, here's a couple rubs right here. The deer are coming in here. This is a bedding area. So sometimes having the best timber is not the best habitat, and it definitely costs you a lot less money when you have woods like this versus woods that I'm going to show you in a second. Now, I like to get back into timber. I look for canopy. I'm going to turn the camera up here. You can see how there's not much sunlight reaching the floor here. And so what you get is a lot of ferns and stuff like this. This is low quality deer food. And when you start to get in a situation where there's not much sunlight reaching the floor, it really is a biological desert. Hunters, we like to see these big trees like this because they're great tree stand trees, but the deer, not so much. They'll use this as a transition zone, but they're not spending much time here, especially those big bucks. They're just too exposed. One of the key things to buying low-cost hunting properties is looking for little hidden opportunities, this being one of them. As you can see, this is a tall, grassy hill. What this is 25 years ago or so, the former owner of this dumped some building materials. There's mortar, old chunks of concrete, some compostable building material. The DNR has allowed them to cover this up, plant in grass, and they come in once a year and they check it. Now, to the average guy, that might be deterrent, but to a guy looking for an opportunity to buy some low-cost hunting land, this could be a good thing, because it weeds out about 80% of the potential buyers that just don't want to deal with this. But when you're buying land at sub $1,000 an acre, as you can here, this is an opportunity you should not overlook. So here's another example. The owners come in here and they've cleared out a nice food plot, but I haven't planted it. Now, when the buyer comes in here, you're seeing, man, what a mess. But what I see is a huge opportunity. Put down some ryegrass in here, get some brassicas or clover growing in here, and next year, this is a fantastic food plot. And because he's done most of the work, which this would cost you a couple hours at $100 an hour, this is a $500 job, maybe more, saves you the money. And if you plant this and get it green and get it growing, I'll bet you increase the value by this property by thousands, a couple thousand for sure. So just another opportunity you can look for. When the owner's done the work that you don't have to do, it saves you money. Buyers love to see food plots such as this, but this is an example of another opportunity. This food plot's been prepped, but it's not planted. He's got a nice bank spline on the other end. He's done most of the hard work. He just didn't finish the job. This is an opportunity. You come in as the owner, you buy this at a lower cost, you do the planting, fertilizing, liming, and you get this into a nice food plot. And when you flip this property, I can tell you from experience, prepared food plots bring major bucks. Okay, let's talk lodging. So on hunting properties that I see everything from a beautiful log home to a stick-built home, all the way down to something like this, a mobile home. And I can tell you, the bigger and the more extravagant the build, the longer you're going to have to hold it if you hope to get any equity out of it. Now, something like this, the owner's taken the time to bring in this mobile home and get it on site. He really hasn't built that into the price of this property at just about 900 bucks an acre. So this is an opportunity. A guy comes in here, he rehabs this trailer and puts maybe a couple thousand, just tongue and grooves it, puts some carpet down, maybe even puts a well here. You know, a couple $1,000 will bring tens of thousands of dollars of equity bump when you go to sell it. It'll also be easier to sell. More people are interested in a modest build hunting destination than a big, beautiful log home. So this is an opportunity you shouldn't pass up. So let's talk about what we saw. So this property has a lot of diversity. And oftentimes these properties that aren't maybe as pretty as you'd like, they don't have these big open timbered woods with great logs. Those properties are going to cost you some money. But if you've got a small budget and you want something you can build, then this property would be a perfect example of that. There's a lot of areas that were kind of abused with the gravel mining and it just looked trashy and there's piles of rocks, but there's a lot of opportunity in here. A guy could come into some of these openings that you saw, plant some food plots, create some diversity, enhance your trails, and maybe even take off some of these logs. And you would turn this property into from a, an $800-900 property to a $1,200 property overnight. It would take a few years of sweat and equity would be gained from your effort. So if you're looking for a property that you can afford, this might be what you need to start with. I could find you these properties. I'd love to work with you. If you want to give me a call, we'll talk about this. Hey, I'm Neil Hogger. I'm land specialist with Whitetail Properties Real Estate, Team Wisconsin Landman. As always, I appreciate the likes, shares, and comments. I hope you enjoyed this tour. Thanks for watching and give me a call.